The pre-race day is it's epic.
Is there a racetrack area that you've gone to and you're like, what in the world? This is awesome?
Like my favorite pre-race is Talladega. Yeah, the consistency was hard, jumping from car to car and crew chiefs. Tracks like Bristol is still, that was a really tough track for me. Yeah, to get 2 trophies, it was epic.
Welcome to Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour, presented by NASCAR on Fox. And today we have Shane Gisbergen. Appreciate you taking the time. It's been quite a run of over the last 3 weeks or so with everything happening. But let's talk about Chicago. I mean, to go there, win the Xfinity race. Everybody knows your story from a couple years ago when you kind of burst onto the scene. But what was the weekend like?
It was epic. It was. It felt like the event had gotten better, bigger and better, and the atmosphere, the vibe was really cool. Yeah, I just had a good time. Got to drive some really good cars and, yeah, executed as well and had a lot of fun doing it. And then, yeah, to get 2 trophies was epic. It was a cool weekend with everyone.
Yeah, and we were watching the clip from the Xfinity race right here, and that was in. You know, when you look at it, I think you guys are going to wind up with probably 2 of the best road course racers in the world in the Trackhouse mold. And I got to imagine, like when you're in these same races or in the same Cup race, that has to be a pretty interesting week as far as the evolution of the cars and the feedback and everything that you guys get with yourself and Connor and everybody in the mix.
Well, we got a glimpse of it sort of at COTA early in the year. It was the first time really working with Connor. We had done Daytona 24-hour together. And
oh, really? I forgot about that.
Yeah. And then went to COTA and obviously separate cars, but we were just pushing each other on the sim all week and trying different lines and gears. And when you're that young, you have such an open mind and you don't have any set ideas about everything. So it was pretty cool to watch him, how he tried to adapt to my style, and some corners he was doing something random, but it would be faster, and it was cool. And then, that was the first time we'd really been head-to-head on the weekend at Chicago, and we had a good race. It was a shame he didn't start up front because it would have been really interesting.
Yeah, I look back at last year's race and the beginning of that Xfinity race with you and Larson.
Yep.
And that has to be part of the intrigue, coming to a different country, racing different things. For you to come over here and do this, I'm sure you wanted to do it once, and then you did it, and you came out and won. How did that spin into let's do this all the time? I mean, that's a big leap of faith.
Well, things spiraled pretty quickly after Chicago. Like 2 months before Chicago, I came over. I had signed a deal to continue in Australia for 1 year at least, and then I had such a good time. It was so refreshing. Things weren't going that good in Australia, I guess. With the new car and stuff, and I just was ready for a change in the way Justin presented this project, pretty much a year of learning and then jump in the Cup Series. I just, I was at a perfect time in my career to try something different.
Yeah.
So it's been the best thing I've ever done.
36, correct? Yep. And I think when you look at a lot of people that, well, you can just use Connor, right? Like you come in 18, 19, 20 years old, you see a lot of kids that really haven't been through life.
Yep.
And don't understand fully what it is to actually be an adult.
Yep. That's what I did when I started at Supercars. I was 18, moved to Australia and left home for the first time. You're a professional race car driver. Life comes at you pretty quick like that, So I kind of been through a little bit what he's going through, but I definitely wasn't as prepared as he is now.
Yeah. And I think when you look at what you did, you came over last year and your crew chief quit like halfway through the year on the Xfinity car. You had a Trackhouse deal, but you were driving college cars.
Yep.
And, there was a lot of things in that circle of that just, I would assume, weren't good as far as consistency from a week-to-week basis. Sure, you were getting the experience. What's it been like this year? You've got my old engineer, Steve, as your crew chief. You've got the consistency on a week-to-week basis. What has been the difference between last year and this year with that consistency? One team, one meeting. What's that change been like?
Yeah, like last year wasn't terrible. I worked with some awesome people and built good relationships, had a lot of fun. But the consistency was hard jumping from car to car and crew chiefs. But this year it's been awesome. Even when it was tough early in the year, like we had a string of 4 weeks finishing in the 30s, but the atmosphere in the team, and we knew that like we weren't going to stay at the back for long.
Yeah.
And just building we had a great bunch of people and it was fun. We were still running bad, but we were having a lot of fun and knew it would get better. And these last few weeks, getting results on ovals, getting better. And then the road courses, man, seeing how much it means to them and how much we've all come together, it's really, really cool. And even like JP getting hurt at Pocono, he's probably come back earlier than he should have, but yeah, seeing him on Sunday night was epic.
Yeah. And so what's the difference been from last year to this year when you go to the racetrack at a road course? And last year, the expectation was the expectation was still to win. I would assume, in my mind, being around you, the expectation was still to win, but there were a lot more variables that went into the weekends. Now, when you go to all these road courses, the expectation, not only for yourself and your team, but for the whole field, is that you're going to go there and be the guy to beat. How has that changed from last year to this year?
I think now, like we've been able to build on it a lot, whereas we'd just get the car from Trackhouse, run it out of Core League last year, and it'd be sort of the standard car. And last year I could never get the car to do certain things that I wanted. And this year, right from the start, we've just gone a completely different sort of direction with setup stuff. And like I just wanted the car to feel a certain way. And now maybe I don't know if trust me is the right word, but we've just sort of done what we think is right. And straight away, the car's much better. Most road courses we go to, and yeah, it's been awesome just to not be able to lead, but to be able to just guide things, I guess. And it's been really fun to see the evolution of things now rather than just doing the same thing every week. And I guess everyone expects us. We go there as favorites, but for us, I feel less stress at a road course than an oval, So we just know we're going to be somewhere near the front normally. So you just have to go there and do your job and it's going to be a good result.
Yeah, and I think that for me, being around you, one of the things that has really intrigued me is your knowledge of being able to look at the data, the way that you prepare, the things that you do. Did that evolve from, obviously that had to evolve from your supercar days, and you've carried that over into here. How has that preparation varied from what you did in the supercar side of things to what you do now?
It's probably more intense because it's every single week and the challenge is so different every week. Like it's not like you're doing mile and a half. You're doing a different style of racetrack every single week and the preparation and stuff is so different. And now instead of seeing two teammates' data, I can see everyone's data.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more intense.
Do you like that?
I do and I don't. On a road course, I hate it, obviously, because everyone can see my stuff and it's all people seem to be talking about on the weekend. But especially when you go to like a Pocono or a Martinsville, you study someone like Denny Hamlin, who's amazing at those tracks and the tendencies he has, or Chase Elliott at Martinsville. There's some guys who really stand out, but when you go to like a Vegas or something, it could be anyone, So there's so much stuff you got to look at now.
Yeah. And so when you went from the supercar, and we'll get to the ovals in a second, but when you went from your road racing background to this car, was there anything that was a drastic situation that you had to adapt to with the car, the style of race, the stages, any of the pit stops, aside from sitting on the other side of the car?
Yeah. Where do you start? Like the pit stops are a massive thing. The rolling starts instead of standing, and then how many of them you have to go through instead of just one at the start of the race. You've got, 4 or 5 restarts,
Yeah.
And then the tire pressure rule is big here. Like you can go as low as you want and it's free grip the lower you go, but the car kind of gets a weird feeling, whereas we had like a minimum of 17 or something. So everyone would be the same. And now there's so many more tools and things you can play with during a race to tune your car to what you like, and just trying to learn what I need, I guess, has been the hardest.
Are there any similarities between those cars and these cars?
Yes and no. Like they're similar on paper, but the way they drive, I think the lock diff is the biggest difference. Having an open diff here makes a big difference, and you don't have to. The technique was so unique in a supercar with the heel and toe and running all the rear brake you could. It's a bit opposite in this car. You run as much front as you can, kind of thing. So
yeah,
Yeah, and people make a big deal out of the right foot braking, but it really does nothing in this car, I don't think. Yeah.
Dude, that's a funny topic in itself because of, the way that our sport evolved. When I started, heel toe was still kind of a thing.
Well, it is in the Xfinity car.
Yeah.
It's everything in those cars.
Because of the wheel hop.
Yeah, like as soon as you get wheel hop, you just put your big toe in the clutch and it's gone. So
yeah, and I never did that. I was terrible at it.
Yeah, it's a huge advantage, but in a cup car, I don't think it is.
Yeah. And I think when you look at it, it has to make you kind of laugh because of all the people trying to analyze the heel toe thing. Yeah. And it's really, like you said, it's in the cup car, it's really not a thing. But the Xfinity car and trucks and things like that, still somewhat useful.
Yeah, I think so. And especially at Chicago, it certainly saved me a couple of times. So, and I guess that's why Marcus was so good as well. Like he had the same technique and his braking was amazing back then.
Yeah, I look back at Marcus Ambrose and I look at, and this is not a knock on his team at the time, but having better caliber, higher calibers of cars, and I look at his progression because he spent a number of years over here getting better on the ovals, being competitive on the ovals, much like the process that you're in. But even on the road courses, if he would have had just a little bit better car, he would have won a tremendous amount more races because of his ability. And I mean, there were some of those. I remember one of the Xfinity races where all the motor mounts, all but one, broke out of the car, and he's out there winning the race at Watkins Glen because he's just manhandling this thing. And did you ever race against him at all?
When he came back after he finished NASCAR, but he was kind of just helping set up the Penske team there. So I never raced him at his best.
Yeah. Well, he was a great man, and I enjoyed my time that I got to spend with him. So road courses have been over the top, and in the situation that you're in currently, it's, you guys are the car to beat. Talk to me about the ovals. Where are you at? Yep. We've seen steady progression from where you were last year to where you are this year.
Yeah, I think we're getting a lot better. Like the last couple of months, we've really stepped up. It's probably a little bit too conservative at the start of the year, especially in qualifying, and then you start at the back and there's no air back there with downforce and stuff. But I didn't feel like I was forcing it. So, wasn't making too many mistakes, just kind of happy to be there, drive around, learn as much as I could. And last few weeks I've sort of been taking more risk, particularly in qualifying, and kind of feel like we're on the back of that midfield kind of now. And it's only a 10th or 2 to the back of the top 10 in qualifying. And, it feels like we're a lot closer, and especially to my teammates as well. I try and, because some weeks, we miss it a little bit with the car and racing my teammates in the mid-20s, so I kind of have to gauge off that. But Ross has this amazing ability, particularly late in the race, to get an amazing result out of a car that's 20th. He'll drag it well inside the top 10. So I definitely need to get better at my restarts and car placement like him. But yeah, certainly I feel like I'm getting a lot better. I find tracks like Bristol that was a really tough track for me. But, like the Darlingtons and 1.5 miles, Michigan, I felt competitive and confident to move around and search for air, whereas times I haven't been, so I feel like I'm better.
Like at Bristol, is it just because it happened so fast, bumps, banking?
There's just nowhere to go. Like it's,
there's nowhere to go at Chicago. I mean, you think it's wide open.
But Bristol is like, it's so far removed from anything I've ever done. Like you can't, you look at that corner and it's just, when you're driving down the straight, it looks like you're driving into a brick wall, and it's vertical wall ahead of you, and you kind of drop in and you got to tell yourself next to no brake and the car will just stick. And it's mind-blowing thinking you can corner that fast, and that concrete has it. Like I've never really driven on concrete before.
Yeah.
And then you do have grip, and then when it rubbers up, you have no grip and you got to go searching somewhere else, and the track it's like a dirt track, how much it moves, and then the yellow comes out, you watch the track change color again, and the process starts again. It's mind-blowing how different it is, yeah.
So when you talk about pushing those limits, like in qualifying and things like that, is it just trying to get the feel for where the edge is? Is it the setup? Is it what you want in the car? Because you talk on the road courses, how you want the car to feel.
Exactly.
And the oval, I
don't know what I need yet.
Don't know exactly what you need.
I get, you get one practice, 20 minutes, but the tires only last 2 or 3 laps, right? And you start at a lap time, and then by the end of practice, you're a second and a half slower, And then I've got to find a second to get to the pace. But qualifying comes around, you got to find a second and a half. And it's, your next set of tires, you got one lap, you got one corner to feel it before you start your lap. You don't really know what you have underneath you. And it's just a huge gap to try and find that next level. And you just go in blind and hope it kind of sticks. It's hard to tell yourself to do that.
Yeah. And when you look at the setups of the car, are you involved in a lot of the stuff that Steve and the engineers and stuff do to try to understand it, or do you just let them go?
I'm trying to learn as much as I can and trying to learn what I like from the car, when they're talking about wedge changes or ride height and stuff like that. But I don't want to know it's got a 1,000 pound spring or a 2,000. Like, that doesn't matter to me. But I'd love to know if we go up 200 pounds on the rear spring, what it feels like or what it's going to do. So I don't want to know what's in the car, but I want to understand it mechanically so I can help guide changes, and that's kind of what I'm doing on the road course and starting to learn what I need on the ovals.
Do you think people underestimate the amount of technology that's in NASCAR compared to other racing divisions?
I had no idea the technology in NASCAR, because you make out that these cars are so basic and they're agricultural, and the tech that's underneath them, I wish there was an exciting way to tell people about it or show people all the simulators and stuff. The tech side is kind of boring really to the average fan, but it's mind-blowing. The detail and little intricate parts on the car to make speed and quality control and all the aero stuff, seeing the things in the body scanner, how they're manipulating everything. Like, it's years ahead of what I had back at home, and the story here doesn't really get told that well about it.
Yeah. I know your old engineer and crew chief and those guys were at the races.
Yep.
What are those conversations like when you start explaining to them, hey, maybe you should do this?
Yeah, like I said to Andrew Edwards he was my engineer or crew chief equivalent in Australia. He came over with Will Brown, and I said, I wish if I went back there, I'd have so many ways now to make the cars faster with innovation, I guess you'd call it, and gray
technology,
gray areas.
Yeah,
but it's just stuff you don't think of at home. You don't push those limits because it's not the normal thing to do, and like, it's not cheating, but it's amazing the things people come up with here, and you see things in the garage, you're like, oh, that's a bit different, and it's a really cool sport how everyone pushes it.
I think that when people look at Indy cars and they look at F1 and they look at all the other different styles of racing, they see all the flash and everything that goes with F1.
Yep.
And I tell people all the time, there is just as much technology here as there is there. It's just, like you say, it's not well exposed as to what you do, because I'm sure, a lot of the people at home, they're like, oh yeah, you just got a 4-car garage and you go to the dealership and you take some wheels and tires off the thing and go race it.
Mind-blowing. Like, you go to Chicago and the cars are sitting in tents out in the rain all together, all the cars just lined up under a little easy up tent and just out in the elements. It's a pretty cool balance of how they've kept it old school, but it has moved on too.
What's the you've raced all over the world. What's the biggest difference in the NASCAR racing culture, whether it be from fans, officiating? What's the biggest difference here compared to a lot of places you've been?
I guess just the efficiency of everything on a weekend. Like, the weekends are so much shorter, but there's so much more racing stuff involved. Like, you go to a track on a Friday night or even a Saturday morning sometimes. You do your tech practice and then you just come back the next day and race. But it sounds so simple, but the pre-race day is it's epic. Those 2 hours before the race with the driver's meeting, which is not really a driver's meeting, and then the driver intros, the anthem, like the pre-race stuff here that they do is fantastic. Like, you get so wound up before the race. Like, my favorite pre-race is Talladega, how emotional everyone is and the anthem's pumping, and then this truck just comes roaring through with the big flag on. It's epic, so we don't really do that as much at home. They do it sometimes, but most weekends you'd go to a track on a Tuesday and you'd leave on a Monday. Like, the weeks were long, drawn out. You'd be over it before the weekend started, and you just feel these short weekends. Everyone's stoked to be there, and it's a very different vibe.
Yeah. And it's different from place to place. Talladega has been much. Is there a racetrack area that you've gone to and you're like, what in the world? This is awesome. Has there been a place that's been that eye-opening moment or somewhere that you've been like, what in the hell? Why are we here?
Yeah, like Dover probably is the weirdest place. Like it's kind of just in the middle of a random place, or even Richmond is like that as well. You're just driving through a neighborhood and then all of a sudden there's a track just there, you know?
Yeah.
But I find the people are cool everywhere you go. For like if you're racing in Australia or New Zealand, the people are the same. When you go around in America, there's so many different, cultures of people and the way they speak is so different. But everyone seems so happy to be at the track. It's pretty cool.
Is there anywhere that you've gone outside of racing since you've been in America that you wanted to visit, that you've visited?
All I've done here is travel for racing, which is perfect. That's all I want to do. But yeah, I like actually where we live the best. And there's so many close tracks here. It's amazing to, it's probably 5 or 6 tracks we drive to. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And now that you've mentioned right around here, when you look at kids and the way that you were brought up, even when I was a kid, you had to be 16, but you had a lot of options. Explain to the people the amount of options that there are in America. We'll get into the legend car stuff in a minute, but I mean, you can race a legend car, you can race a sprint car, you can race going to Europe and racing karts with Keelan, you had karts and then you went
Formula
rally
cars,
or you went to Formula F4 and you only had a couple paths.
It's pretty mind-blowing here. And we're a long way behind in my part of the world. Like where Keelan is now at 12, I was probably 18, or worse. Like it's amazing the racing experience. Like he's racing 2 or 3 times a week, and whether it's late model, legend, in his go-kart, it's the accessibility for everything and going and just getting in a car and racing. It's amazing here. It's got such a cool racing culture, this country, I feel like. And yeah, you can basically do whatever you want if you can,
Yeah, we went to the kart track today. There was 55 people there.
Yeah.
Riding their karts.
Middle of the week.
Of the week on a Wednesday. And, I think that where we are here in Mooresville, Charlotte area in North Carolina, it's like you say, there's a lot of cup tracks you can drive to, but there's probably, within 3 hours, there's probably 8 to 10 short tracks that you can drive to. And then
just out from my, like I can hear Mooresville drag strip from my place on a Thursday night, and I'll just go down there with a couple of beers and a mate and just sit on the fence there. And the things you see ripping down the drag strip, it's awesome. It's unbelievable. Like the car culture and racing culture here is great fun.
So you go to the drag strip. Have you taken the Mazda there?
I haven't taken it down yet. No. So it's
tell them what it is.
So I got a little Mazda RX-7 here, and I always wanted one at home, but they're unachievable to get one. And here, they're everywhere. So just wanted one for something different. And so the drag strip, it's $15 to go spectate and $20 to enter. So
is there any way we can figure out how fast that thing will actually go?
I try and baby it a little bit. Yeah.
So you want to take care of the car, not see how fast it'll go?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I'm still surprised that you fit in it.
Yeah, I'm a bit big for it, but
And why are those cars so sought after at home?
They were just the car, 10, 15 years ago, everyone would get them, do them up. And there's a guy, Mad Mike. He's a fellow Red Bull athlete. He was a drift icon there. And man, he made road trees, what they were, I guess, for me. And I loved watching him, and he was just a madman. So I always wanted one. Now,
I did hear a rumor. You mentioned Red Bull athlete. And is it true that you called Verstappen to get help for Mexico?
Mexico, yeah.
Really?
I just texted him a little bit on the morning. He was racing in Canada that day. Yeah.
Okay.
I just try any help I could. He'd race there or practice there in the wet. So he had some small advice, nothing too much, but it helps.
I think that's one of the biggest things. You've brought a lot to this sport as far as eyeballs, attention from parts of the world that we didn't really, since Marcus left, didn't really have. But bringing Red Bull back into our sport you were a Red Bull athlete in the supercar stuff. What is that like with that brand? Because it just, from the outside looking in, it's just a badass brand to be a part of, and you get to do a lot of unique things.
Yeah, and that's kind of why they've come along. I think, that being part of Trackhouse, I think was a big appeal to them, but also me getting outside of my comfort zone. Red Bull's all about pushing the limits, doing something different, and like winning is great as well in Australia all the time. They love that, but coming and doing this, having a pretty cool story to tell, and you know, winning some races, but also experiencing some pretty cool things as well. Is hopefully we can do some cool stuff.
What's the coolest thing you've got to do so far?
We made a drift car out of a supercar, and
oh, really?
You know, we had big wings on it, big guards, and then we also did a car swap with my dad. He got to drive the supercar, and we swapped in a rally car. But I would love to do I would love to make a NASCAR and do the world's fastest drift or something like that. So
you and Logano could go at it. Have you seen his little
Mustang?
His little truck that he has?
Yeah, that's cute, but we can do it better. Yeah.
Yeah. when you look at all the different cars that you've been able to drive, is there anything that you look at? And I know you're in the middle of a pretty big adventure right now with the Cup car. Is there anything like when you see Larson and those guys go do the Indy 500? Does any of that intrigue you?
I still would love to do more rally car stuff. I loved rallying and only really got to do it for a season and a half. So I'd love to give rallying a bit more of a go. That was my dad's background and what he was into. And we sort of put a deal together, and he helped me run it the last couple of years. And it's excited him so much. So I loved going rallying with him. And yeah, I'd probably want to do more rally. But,
like team owner, maybe?
No, I want to drive.
Yeah, driver and team owner?
Yeah, I just want to drive.
Just drive it.
The team stuff's too complicated, but I love what I'm doing now. It's hard. You know, we race every week through the middle of the year, so it's hard to find events either side. But
what's that schedule? What was that like for you last year? Running, you didn't get to run. I mean, you ran the Xfinity schedule. Now you're on the Cup schedule with deeper prep, more time commitments to doing crap like this.
Yeah, it's full on.
Yeah.
I enjoy it though, which is the biggest thing. It doesn't feel like work. Like the long weekends, as I said, in supercars, it'll make it feel like work because you're away 6 days doing so much stuff. The weeks are short here, and the weekends are short and action packed. So yeah, I really enjoy it. I kind of only get 1 day off a week, but yeah, it's fine. I really like it.
I like to work too. I'd rather be busy than not. So is there a food or something in America that you have acquired the taste for that
Wendy's.
Wendy's. Is it a Frosty?
Well, we get the free company card, so it ain't bad. But yeah, I like Wendy's. It's fun. They're a good team sponsor, but I like it as well.
Is there anything about the American culture that you still just shake your head at? Like, why in the world do they do that?
Nothing off the top of my head. Some stuff seems crazy, but there's always a sense to it, and it seems to work. Yeah.
Do you see yourself? I mean, will you go home at the end of the year again this year and spending more time back at home over the winter?
Winter here is pretty average, so going home for summer is great. New Zealand in summer's best time of year, so I love going home, and I'll try to do some speedway racing or dirt racing, and but I miss home. So
and you did that last year, right?
Yep.
In the sprint car,
I did about 8 races, I think, in the sprint car. Yeah,
and so you'll go back and do that again.
I hope so. Yeah, I'd like to. Yeah.
And is there anything else during that time that they race over there? Or is it primarily just sprint cars, or rally, or are the rally cars racing
it's all
during that
shut
time?
Down. We do a paddock car race with some friends. That's a big race. That's about it. Yeah.
And you do that in your backyard right now, right?
Here I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
We keep that a little quiet.
Okay. So we haven't had any major.
That stays off social media.
Okay, I got you. There's not much. I mean, you had a big time after Chicago.
Oh yeah, we did.
You had all your buddies in town, so that it seemed like that turned.
Yeah,
into a good
we
time.
landed about 11, I think. So we're at my place by 11:30, and it was good because we didn't really celebrate Mexico. I was sick. Most of the guys were feeling a bit average, so we didn't really get together. So to come get everyone around after Chicago was awesome. We were all stoked and made the morning.
As we've gone through the summertime, for some reason you have decided to torture yourself with this legend car adventure for the summer shootout. It appears to me that you and Scotty are having fun, but you have identically painted cars, and they're racing the summer shootout, which is a 10-race legend car series, which Bubba Wallace is in, Keelan is in, and I don't know, what is there, 14, 15
I think it's 18 on a full night.
Well, I mean, on the Joe Ryan team.
Oh yeah, there's a few of us, and through all the different categories.
Yeah,
I'm having a blast. You know, there is some skill to learn. Like that short track racing. You know, those kids have been doing. All the NASCAR guys have been doing that since they were 10 or 12 as well, and So there's some skill to learn, but it's just so much fun as well. Every Tuesday night, Monday's practice, Tuesday we race, and I'm having a blast with that. It's pretty fun, and we bet on qualifying, and whoever is last in qualifying.
You, Scotty, and Bubba.
Yeah. They have to go pay. Whoever's last has to pay for dinner, and it's pretty fun. We go and have dinner, come back for the race, and I think I bumped and run Scotty on the last lap a couple of weeks ago for 7th, and we're high-fiving afterwards, and I was cheering across the line. And then I think last night, the night before, he took someone out, and we're in identical cars, and he took them out so good, he ended up back with me, and the yellow come out, and the guy's come up to me, and he's doing all the gestures to me. I'm like, no, it was the other guy.
Wrong car.
Wrong car. So, it's been a lot of fun.
As I watch you in that car, the thing that you talk about, and that is, kind of some of the struggles with finding the edge, and the things that Ross does on the restarts. But I watch you do all those things in that legend car. And that has to, and I know people are going to think this is, well, that's dumb. It's a legend car. But that confidence that you have on those restarts, going through traffic and doing all those things that I watch you do for the last 6 weeks,
it's definitely
helping. You think that helps?
Oh, 100%. You just get so much more confident where to place the car, and on those restarts there's just so much happening. You have to be aware of what's around you, but also looking ahead around the corner too, because there's so much happening. And it reminds me of like a Martinsville or Richmond, Bristol. Like there's so much you got to be aware of. You can't just be looking at the bonnet. You got to be eyes up, looking around. So
what's been the favorite track so far? I
like Darlington.
Darlington.
Yeah, I love that place. Yeah, it's like Daytona, when you go in the tunnel and you get that feeling. Darlington's the same. They got the big flag up. You go under and you just feel like the history and the vibe of the place. And it's just a cool atmosphere, I always find. And a lot of people are surprised when I say that. But
that was always one of my favorites too, because especially for the Southern 500 weekend at the end of the year. You did that last year.
I did, yeah.
And you're exactly right. When you drive in the tunnel and you see people sleeping under blue tarps, it's like going back in time.
Yeah. And everyone's in their classic gear and everything, and just driving on that track, you got to be on the edge the whole time, and the way the tires fall off. I find that track's amazing.
Yeah, that was always one of my favorites. Have you been to the little restaurant outside of Turn 2?
I haven't. No.
What in the world? We're gonna have to make a list of the places that you're gonna have to experience. But there's a little burger joint right on the outside corner of Turn 2. But what is your least favorite style of racing that you've evolved to say, this is either really hard or I just don't like it?
I don't like the fuel saving bits of the super speedway.
Yeah.
Like when you're just stuck in the middle and you're looking at your throttle percentage and you're just trying to hold between 40 and 50. And that's kind of unenjoyable, but I love it when it's flat out and you're trying to jockey for position, and it's a little hard to do things. I found the Xfinity car, you could make stuff happen. You kind of get stuck in the cup car, but when you get yourself in that good position, it's a cool feeling, and trying to find the gaps and get the momentum. I find when you're flat out on a super speedway, it's pretty cool.
It is. Yeah. And the hard part about super speedway racing, it should look like Atlanta. That's how super speedway racing
I really enjoy Atlanta.
Yeah. And you can get passes. You got to lift off the throttle sometimes. And with these cars, it's kind of become, when everybody's flat out, you got 2 lanes and it's hard to advance your position. So definitely somewhere, that they need to work with the car to be able to do that. So as you go through the end of the year, as we wrap this up, as you go through the end of the year, you're in a much different position now with playoff points, expectations. You still have to go to Sonoma, still have to go to Watkins Glen before you get to the playoffs. What are the goals for the rest of this regular season? But what are your expectations for the playoffs?
Yeah, I don't know. I never have expectations, but I feel like our rate of improvement is still pretty steep on the ovals. I feel like we're learning something every week, and now we're going to start to go back to tracks we've been to before. So we've got a bit of a notebook. Hopefully we just keep getting better. It's been good. Like our average pace position's gone from in the 30s to now in the 20s, So now we got to get into the 10th to 15th area. That would be awesome. And just keep making those little steps and keep improving. But the first round of the playoffs is tough. We've got Darlington, which I like. Gateway. I've never been to before, and
You'll
then
do
Bristol.
fine there.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I have no idea what the first round's going to be like, but as long as we keep improving, anything can happen.
Yeah, and so when you go back and you look at the Xfinity car, I tell you it's going to be the last question, but it never is. When you go back and look at that playoff experience in the Xfinity car that you had previously, do you think the Xfinity car is a good preparation route?
No.
Okay.
No. So I'm really glad I did a full year learning, settling into the country and, learning tracks a little bit and how they work, but the car is no good for transitioning. The Cup car, I pretty much had to relearn all my racing, where to place the car, how it drives and how it reacts. And you use different tools to make it turn. You can't upset the guy in front of you. So, I probably would have sunk if I jumped straight into Cup last year and would have been even more difficult. But yeah, the cars are chalk and cheese. They're way too different.
So do you like when you get to run them both on the road courses?
On a road course, I think it's good. Yeah, especially at a track like Chicago. It's evolving so much over the weekend, and I really think that was a huge help running both. On an oval, I'm not sure if it will be. I haven't tried that yet. So
Well, it sounds like there's a drastic amount of differences between everything that you have going on. Well, thank you for taking the time. I thought it was the way that this has all happened, from how you started, everything that you did last year, to having a consistent home and performance of the expectations of what you want to do, have been impressive to watch. And I think you brought a lot to our sport with people watching that hadn't paid attention before. And I hope you have a lot of success as you go through the rest of the season. So thank you for the time.
No problem. Anytime.